Ted. How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to finally
Ted
meet
Meister,
you.
I'm the marketing director at Think Tank.
Awesome.
It was really great to have you guys here. And
well, we're glad you have us here. So yeah, we just wanted to come check out, do a highlight of you guys, and see what you're all about. You guys are like the camera bag company, right?
well, I guess so. You know, it's we've been in business almost 20 years now, and you know, we are really sort of an industry leader by now. I mean, we've been working with professional photographers, you know, since our inception, and it's really become sort of the go-to product for them because of the quality of our stuff. I mean, pro photographers are working, you know, every day, dragging their stuff all around the world, and their equipment takes a beating, so they really need to have, you know, our camera bags to keep that will last a long time.
That's right.
You know, and withstand the rigors of the road. You know.
But you're not just camera bags, are you? Like.
No, we are getting into the travel space, the general travel market. You know, a lot of our stuff is designed for travel already, so it's really just a sort of a natural step to take, you know, the products that we make and you know, kind of strip them down so that they are designed more for travel, not just camera carry.
So that's cool. Okay.
So and then back here is our product sample area. So basically, these are all the products that we've built over the years, sort of the final versions that we keep on hand, so that customer service can reference them, or the design team can come back and, you know, look how they did certain things. And it's just always good to have, you know, one perfect sample of everything.
Well, I'm looking at a lot of bags, and my head feels like it's gonna kind of explode. Like, how many SKUs do you guys have?
Well,
like,
I mean, hundreds. It's actually pretty.
Is it close to 1,000?
No, no, it's nothing like that. But you know, definitely well over 100, and that includes variations of each product. You know, there could be 3 or 4 different variations. And iterations. You know, these are some of our backpacks. This is the backlights section here. These are our best-selling backpacks. So, you know, we're coming out with a whole new color line here in just a couple weeks. Mindshift was actually a brand that we developed as a separate company. It was for outdoor photography. So most of Think Tank stuff was developed for urban photography, or sports photography and things like that. So we wanted to be able to differentiate our outdoor lines for our competitive reasons. But so we came up with this Mindshift brand. Well, then we were running 2 companies at the same time. It's the same people. I mean, and
just a different label.
And Mindshift started getting a lot of brand traction in the market. And we're like, well, this is great, but it's also difficult for us because now we're competing against ourselves. So we get customers saying, "Oh, I really like that Mindshift stuff, but who's Think Tank?" And you're like, well, "Wait a minute, you know,
That's us.
It's us." So we've sort of absorbed the Mindshift brand as a product line now. So it still maintains some brand strength, and a lot of people still think of it as, you know, Mindshift, but then we start to say it's from Think Tank, So so now we've blended it all together, and everything is under the Think Tank brand.
At Think Tank, we have so many different type of bags that I think you saw when you walked through. So, you know, there are certain times when you need a roller, certain times when you need a backpack, certain times you want to wear a sling, certain times you want a shoulder bag, certain times you want a hip bag. So it really varies depending on what the assignment is and where you are. But being a photojournalist, moment matters a lot to me. In capturing that moment, one of our early taglines was, "Be ready before the moment." And it's about capturing that moment and being ready and having no hindrance with your gear, having your gear ready to go, making sure the bags work, that they're, you know, just gonna, you know, you need easy access. You need a certain amount of protection, certain amount of safety concerns. There's just a lot of things you're thinking about when you're out there on the street. But I can show you an example of a bag that kind of, that we designed to really solve that problem. What we did with this is, you know, Ted, Doug, and I, we teamed up and we pulled together a group of photojournalists and, you know, said, okay, you know, what's important, you know, for you in a bag? We polled them because we love doing that as a company. We've done that from the very beginning. In the very beginning, we would have meetings at Kurt and my house, and we would, you know, gather our photographer friends together and say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this good? Does this work? And so we did that with this bag. And
so this is not a normal fanny pack or whatever, hip pack, right?
The thing about this bag that's great, this is the smaller size. We have 2 other sizes. And the thing about this that solves so many problems is it can be a belt pack, so you can wear it around your hips. It can be a shoulder bag, or it could be a sling bag. So it's very versatile, because sometimes you're out there on the street, you're out there on assignment, and I may want to have a hip belt just for maybe security, or maybe because, my cameras are hurting my shoulders. And there are other times when I might want to switch it up and have a shoulder bag. So really thinking about the versatility that photographers need and how every situation is different, and really trying to solve those problems. Yeah, so...
yeah, show me around, Ted. What do you got here?
Well, so this is the shoulder strap here that can be attached in different ways to be used as a shoulder bag. So you've got this tab right here, and you can work that through. So
if you go right here, it's a shoulder bag, but then if you go here, you're turning it into more like a sling.
And see what these will tuck in here. So get those out of the way. And then attach this one over here, maybe to here.
So this is like a 3-in-1 right here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like seeing something also. What is? Oh, that's just a seam. So
this way you can wear it as a
okay.
crossbody bag.
Yeah.
You can see that a little bit better. You could use this as a lens changer. You could have your camera gear in here. So you're always kind of working like right here, and it's like right here close to your body. So you're going through a crowd or something,
you're not
on
worried.
the subway, you're not worried about someone stealing your stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice form factor right there. You can adjust it, so some people wear it up here. As Deanne mentioned, she could wear it as a waist belt, or you could just wear it as a shoulder bag.
Yeah.
And so it's just got
nice.
Or throw it behind your body like that,
Yeah.
So it's just super versatile.
That's really cool.
And as Deanne says, a couple different sizes. Some people have a lot, more camera gear, bigger lenses and stuff. So this is just kind of the smaller version, the Press Pass 10.
At what point in time, Deanne, did you think we are always traveling, and we do all this camera gear, you know what I mean? All these camera bags. Like, at what point did you think we need just to have our own bag as well? Like, why go to other people when we can make it ourselves, right?
Here's what happened. Over the years, so many photographers would say to us, we love your bags, we love your rollers, we love the quality, we love the customer service, we love the innovative features, but we don't have a good bag for general luggage, and we would love to have all the things that Think Tank is in our luggage bag.
Okay.
And we kept saying, no, we're concentrating on photography, but the questions just kept coming into us, and so we decided to venture into this new category.
So you pushed back. You guys pushed back for years and years and years. Like, no, our bread and butter is photography. Yes. But then just like what year was it? Did you guys maybe switch?
Ted can talk about this.
It was only just a couple years ago, around the pandemic.
Oh, really?
We were, kind of
because a lot of travel was going on during that time.
We knew that when people got out of the pandemic, they were going to travel. So we came up with a big road bag over here. I can show you some stuff here. We came up with this super carry-all duffel bag called the Freeway Long Haul, and there's a bigger one, if you can believe that. And this was intended for people getting out of the pandemic and hit the road for a road trip and get back to their lives. So that was sort of the first step into travel. And then, as Deanne mentioned about our rolling suitcases, one thing I can kind of just demonstrate here is 2 rollers.
Okay.
This one is designed for camera gear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought that was...
And you can see that it's not much of a reach to take out all that interior and come up with a travel roller.
So wait, which ones are both of your travel, or?
Well, this is our photo travel roller.
Okay.
And this is just a general rolling suitcase. And there is really no difference on the outside. It's just what's on the inside. So there are our same wheels, all user replaceable. The feet are user replaceable. The handle is user replaceable, so with all the travel that you do, if the thing gets damaged, you can fix it and keep it on the road. We've had some of our rollers we call million-mile rollers, and they literally are some of the first ones we sold 15 years ago, and they're still rolling. And they're traveling the world, around the world, many, many times. So a million miles on a bag is really something that we just do as a matter of, we see that all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
You've gotten into this.
we do a lot of organization-based stuff. We want photographers to be organized, and so we came up with these cable management pouches for photographers to manage all their cables and keep those together. But they work just as well for your toiletries or just about anything you can find, that a bunch of little parts and tools. You can just put these in these little organizer pouches.
And it's clear, so you know what's in there.
So you can
so
see
nice.
what's in it, yeah. And then we've done, clothing cubes that go with our roller line. This is called the Venturing Observer. By the way, we can get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
So there's clothing cubes to help you stay organized. Again, that's based in our photography DNA, stay organized. This is a new bag that we've come out with that has a magnetic lid. And this is kind of a nice workflow, because you can get in and out of this bag real easy, no zippers, which is always kind of a pain in the neck when you got to get to something quickly.
Yeah.
So, and then these are neodymium magnets, so they're very strong.
Okay.
It's not like it's gonna pop open. It's not gonna pop open, your stuff's not gonna fall out, but there are security clips here.
That's what I was just gonna ask, because what if you're just nervous, just peace of mind, you still got
when
this.
you're getting on the subway and you don't want somebody to just go, I'll just get right into this guy's backpack. You can protect it. So
cinch it up.
but when you get to doing what you're doing, you want to have that workflow.
That's
then
awesome.
then you've got the magnet.
So what goes up there?
This is kind of
so this is like a travel bag, but then the top part's kind of like a camera bag.
well, this is just for quick access stuff. You see you have a laptop carry in here. You can just put sort of ancillary stuff here. There's a zipper pouch here for keys and things like that. So this is kind of just a quick access bin.
So cool.
And then down here in the bottom is just a big cargo area. So this can be used as a regular backpack. You can strap stuff down in there. Or you can take one of our Stash Master gear cubes. This is, put your camera gear in this cube, and then you can just put it here in the backpack. And so you can always have your camera gear with you if you want it, or if you just want to have it for some other kind of use. Then you have all that space.
Does this one have any anti-theft things on it, like with the cable that goes around like a cable?
It actually does. Yeah, they're in here.
I was nervous to ask it in case it didn't.
Surprise! We think of everything. So this one does have a lock and cable. So if you're at the airport or something and you want to take a little snooze in your chair, you just wrap that around the chair, and no one's going to run off with your backpack. With your backpack.
Oh my gosh!
And you might think that that's thin, but no one's going to cut that when you're sitting there right next to it.
You got neighbors. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing with those?"
Right.
Cutters,
So
buddy?
at least from a grab and go situation, you're protected.
Yeah.
And so we have these cables and locks on a lot of our rollers and our airport backpacks as well. So that's something we thought about in the early days, as Dan mentioned.
I've got this one. This one's pretty cool.
This is the Venturing Observer travel backpack, and it goes with the rollers as well. So it makes a really nice unit when you're traveling together.
And it looks like it actually fits on top, right? If you don't want to wear it as a backpack or you got too many bags.
Yeah, that's a
slide it on.
luggage handle pass through right there.
Okay.
And you actually uncovered the secret pocket back there. And you can put your passport, your money, your phone, or anything back there. They're not going to know where it is, and since it's on your back, no one can get their hands in there and steal it, even if they did. So we think about security on many different levels.
Okay.
And
if I'm not a photographer, I could still use this bag then. And it
absolutely.
will, right?
Yeah.
So, because it's not. You'll let me? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like I said, you can't tell photographers which bag they can and they can't use. They're going to use whatever they can.
Okay. But this is a good bag, for just work and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
commuting, general travel. It's designed for that.
And then these are cool.
This is another travel line. This is called the retrospective travel line. This is a classic weekender style, and it uses it incorporates the stonewash cotton canvas that we have used in our retrospective camera bag line, which is very popular. And we thought, well, it's such a cool fabric, and it's so stylish. Let's make some travel gear with it. So we came up, with this an everyday carry backpack. You know, it's very stylish and very cool. It's got foam in here now, but as you can see, there's organization in there. You know, if you were, you know, a student, or this could be your commuter bag, or just your cool guy, you know, cool looking bag that everyday carry is such a big thing these days. They'll carry a laptop that'll fit a nice, even a 17-inch laptop. And it also has on the back this there's a secret stash pocket. There's the pass-through, and then there's the secret stash pocket right there. So that's obviously very hard to see. And even that roller has a secret stash pocket. You know, you can put your AirPod in there or something like that.
Oh my goodness. This is beautiful, by the way. Like, I could definitely see wearing this. And
yeah, I use that as my personal.
So popular with our customers. This fabric, this cotton canvas, pine stone color, and you know, we've had those shoulder bags for so long. You know, early on we designed those. They've been so popular. People love them.
So now you can have a tote, or we have two sizes of duffel bags. You can see there, that's a 50-liter duffel bag, and then we have a 75-liter as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So it's just a very nice cohesive line. You could have all of this stuff if you wanted it, and you'd look cool. You know, look very put together, well put together. Yeah. A lot of people like that. You know, want to have everything kind of the same. Or you can mix and match. You know, you could have this backpack and that roller, and you know, and your thing tanked out. You know. One thing that's important about our handles, as you can see, it's much smaller. It's only this, you know, it's only this tall. It's a 5-stage handle, but it doesn't take up the whole width of the bag down here. There's our stash pocket.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool? It even says stash. But as you can see from the construction point, it's easy to get on and off if it breaks. Yeah. So you can easily replace this yourself. And it creates extra space down here, so you get more room in your bags than the normal bags, which would have a handle that goes all the way down here.
Yeah, it's
so you know how cumbersome it is to load up these areas in here.
I'm always trying to figure out what clothes I should like put in these slots, but this, like, you can put, it looks, I mean, you can put something just like completely flat right there, and you're not going to have that wasted space.
You could put your press pass if you were a traveling photographer in there.
That is nice.
You know,
and you don't have to worry about the rod hitting your camera or lens, right?
Right. Or if you wanted to have your camera stash master, that fits perfectly.
So we spent a lot of time thinking about the real estate that's available in the bag with the dimensions that the airlines give us, and how can we, again, thinking, how can we maximize this? And the multi-stage handle is a great way that creates more real estate.
That is awesome. Hey, should we go hit the road?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go in our Springer van, come on.
How did you get into photography? Tell me about like your passion. Like, how did you start?
Well, I grew up in Massachusetts.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I'm an East Coast girl. And I, you know, had to do the epic trip across the country in the van, you know, that we all have to do. I was about 18, you know, just got my license, got a van, saved up, got a van, and my best friend and I drove across the country. And it was a trip that was full of adventures. You know, my mother said, "Deanne, that van's never going to make it across the country." We finally, after lots of adventures, made it across the country, and those adventures prepared me well for a life as a photojournalist.
Oh, wow.
Finally made it to California, and we had some friends in San Francisco, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the West Coast, San Francisco, everything about it I loved. It was all so new and exciting. So, you know, after I got back to Massachusetts, I just set about figuring out how I can get to California. Applied to schools. I wanted to go to art school, so I went to the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and I was taking painting, drawing classes, art history, sculpture, you name it, every type of art. And it was, I mean, in retrospect, that was great. because I learned so much about art, about design, about composition, about the masters. But, you know, after a while, it's like I didn't have the passion for it that I hoped I. Well, then I really dove in deeply to photography. I took graphic design classes, then took a photography class, and at that point, I was thinking, is it possible to make a living as a photographer? And it seemed very unlikely, but I was so passionate about it, I just went 100 miles an hour in that direction. Started taking every photography class I could possibly take. So I ended up getting a Bachelor of Fine Arts in photography.
Okay. So when you were going through photography, I want to hear the rest of the story. It was film. So when people need to understand, it wasn't digital. It was, were you processing and printing?
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of that, loading your own cameras and the dark room and.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how I started as well. So it's a process. There's an art to it too, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I fell in love with the magic of photographing film and developing it in the dark room, watching the print appear, the image appear
so cool.
in the solution. It was the most magical thing. And, you know, I got really excited about it. And seriously, to this day, I am still as excited about photography as I was back.
So from school, how did that become a profession?
Well, while I was in school, I was thinking, once I graduate, I want to hit the ground running, so I need to be prepared. So I started taking my portfolio around, and my portfolio was really very basic. Is a nice way to put it.
You just got out of college.
Yeah. Well, even while I was in college, I said, okay, I'm going to go see if I can get some work. So I end up at the Associated Press office, and I show my photography and my portfolio to the editor there. And he looks at it, just kind of pushes the portfolio back and, said, keep working at it, But by the time I got to the door, he says, he's kind of like old school guy, and he says, hey kid, and I turned, and he like threw me 2 rolls of film, and he said, go on out and see if you can come up with something. If you come up with anything good over the next week or so, bring it back.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow. So that was your interview.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. So I went out to Golden Gate Park the next day with this coveted roll of film, 36 images. Okay, what can I do with this? And I just hung out in the park all day. And I saw this crazy little scene. It was a guy out there, and he was in a folding chair, and he was suntanning. He was reading a book about Marlon Brando. And I'm watching him, and I'm watching the scene develop. And I was taught the ethics of photojournalism, and you don't change the scene, you just let it unfold.
Okay.
So I'm just watching as things are unfolding. Next thing I know, 2 Canadian geese come up to him, and one over each shoulder, and they're looking down over him like they're looking at his book. Wow. And it was just this interesting juxtaposition, made a good photo. I brought it into the editor, and he liked it and put it on the wire.
So they ended up on the wire, like they were published.
They were published, yeah. Yep.
Wow. So that was your interview. That was kind of a proof, like just your job opportunity, and it was. Did that, you think, set the pace for the rest of your career, or was it because it's always capturing the next best shot or staying one step ahead of just progressing as an artist?
Right.
Tell me how you were able to do that throughout your career, and then I'm leading up to, not up to, because that's a huge kudos and award that you had won. But was that the pinnacle, or are you still like progressing towards something, and what might that be?
I continually have this drive to tell important stories, and I'm always trying to figure it out. I'm always trying to figure out what story should I be telling now. And it's just this lifelong thing. I've always had it. I've always had this drive to kind of pinpoint what I need to be photographing. What's the story that I need to be telling? And so, yeah.
So, from there, so this is an Associated Press.
like, this is just one job. Like, I mean, when you Google your name, I don't know if you Google it yourself. Do you ever Google yourself?
I have Google Analytics, so if my name shows up, I usually get a notification.
Okay. But yeah, when I Google your name, because like, you know, I wanted to know more about you, right? Like, Santa Fe Workshops comes up. Pulitzer Prize is like one of the big ones. Let's see, ESPN, Barry Bonds. Like, I guess he didn't like photographers, and you were able to talk him into. Like, how do you contact these, I guess, you know, celebrities, big names, and be able to get like a shoot with them? Like, you know, like just like Yellow Pages, like what?
Yeah.
Actually, if I take a break, you take a right up here.
Okay.
There'll be a dead end, you take a right. And
Okay.
Dan, definitely tell them the story about Barry Bonds.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
a great
people
story.
do like that story. Okay, so we just fast forward from, you know, so I get published, Associated Press, it's a
Okay.
big deal. And then I graduated and I just started doing those little things like I did with Associated Press. You go talk
Okay.
to an editor, every once in a while you get a shoot, and so little by little you start to get some things published. And then I started working at a small paper in Palo Alto as a freelancer, did that for a year. And then before long, I got hired at the San Francisco Chronicle as a staff photographer. And it was great. So over the years, I covered so many different stories. I worked there for almost 2 decades.
Wow.
And during that time, I covered stories about news. I mean, I covered the major earthquake in San Francisco. I was up in a helicopter, but I'm telling stories with my photography.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am creating photo essays, creating images that say something, that have moments and revealing. Yeah, I'm just, you know, working to get out there and tell the stories in a visual way.
Okay.
So, I mean, some of the stories, the anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge, they closed the roadway to traffic. I ended up on the top of the tower of the Golden Gate Bridge. So I've ended up in a lot of interesting places over the years. So I've ended up in a lot of interesting places. So, you know, covering news, but also covering culture and entertainment and sports. I did a lot of sports photography. You know, I'd end up covering Super Bowls and World Series and NBA finals, a lot of the
And this
major...
is all for the Chronicle?
It was all
somehow?
for the Chronicle. It was all
Okay.
for the Chronicle until 2008 when I left. But during the time I was at the Chronicle, I did some of the sports stories. So I was covering the major sporting events, but also I was interested in the personal stories about the athletes. So big player at the time was Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
You
for
know.
the Giants.
Yes, for the Giants. You know, he was breaking every home run record, but the media was terrified of him. We were all terrified of him.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he would yell at us. So it was really difficult because, you know, I was trying to tell these stories. So I wanted to do behind the scenes. Who is Barry Bonds? Everyone knows who he is on the field, but I want to know who he is off the field. Who is he as a person? What makes him tick? I go to the Giants and say, hey, I'd like to do a story behind the scenes of Barry off the field. And they said, no way, Barry's not going to do that. You can try to talk to his agent. I go to his agent, the agent says, there's no way, Barry's not going to do this. And so then you know, time goes by and it's spring training. I show up in Arizona and in comes Barry. He arrives to walk across the field, and all the other players, when they get to the field, they would, you know, just come out, go running or something, and Barry just like sat down on the field. And I was thinking, that's different. But I had a long lens on a monopod, and I swing the lens over to photograph him, you know, trying to tell the story of Barry arriving, right? And he looked at me and glared at me like he was furious and wanted to kill me.
Because he could see you taking a picture of him?
Yes. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. He's intimidating me. The way he always intimidates people. I've got a job to do. he's supposed to be doing his job, allowing photography. And I just got fed up. And so I just went walking up to him.
At that moment?
Yeah, I'm carrying my long lens, and I went walking up to him. While I'm walking up to him, I had no idea what I was going to say. But I got to him, and I'm standing over him, and I say, Barry, do you have a problem with me photographing you? Now, this guy is big, and he's got a bat next to him.
Yeah.
So it could have gone badly. But he thought about it for a minute, and he said, no, I don't have a problem. What's your name and who are you shooting for? I told him, and he said, okay, I'll call you D. I said, okay, that works.
I'll call you D.
From that moment forward, he let me into his world.
Wow.
And he would always stop and talk to me. He wouldn't talk to anybody, but he would always stop and talk to me. And it's weird. It's like I had broken down that wall he put up around him because I wasn't intimidated by him.
Wow.
And so he would always stop and talk to me. And so one day I said, hey, Barry, I'd like to photograph you off the field. I'd like to photograph you at home with your wife and your daughter. And just the things you do when you're not on the field. Your fans want to know who you are. And he says, okay, that's cool. So then he just started letting me in, and I got all this behind the scenes photography telling the story of Barry, a side of him that people didn't know. Just little by little. So I had that big moment where I got access with him. And then I started, throughout that season, I started to get these behind the scenes shoots with him. And so I was building this photo essay. And then he ended up retiring, leaving the Giants in 2008. And so I was there and photographed his final game.
Wow.
But it was, it's something that I always deal with as a photographer, and it's about perseverance. I'm trying to tell a story, and sometimes there are hurdles in the way. And I have to figure out, how do I turn a no into a yes?
Like, working at Think Tank, right? Give me your perspective, your observation, the culture, the people, right? Because you are promoting this bag that it's built for people to help further their career, do what. But the people also are living it, like Deanne, right? Talk about the culture of the product, the bags, and how it really is living, breathing the product, every fiber of what you're doing, in what we're doing, right, on the field, in the field.
And I guess from my perspective, I'm always the guy who's trying to put together the marketing story about each bag that we put out. And we release a lot of products. We may release 10 products a year.
Yeah.
And each one is special and unique. So it's my job to put together those feature sets and talk about them in such a way where I'm talking about the feature and the benefit of the feature. So I really get to know each and every bag pretty in depth, because I also do the product demo video.
Yeah.
So I got to demonstrate the product. So I really get to know it, and I really kind of enjoy that part of it, because you meet so many photographers along the way. So many of our customers just love Think Tank.
Yeah.
And I've never worked anywhere where we have so much love coming from our customers that they're a joy to work for. And also, they send me great photos of them using their bags. So,
cool.
I've got this marketing content coming in all the time.
Yeah.
And it's on our Facebook page. We have a lot of engagement on our Facebook page and Instagram, of course. And there's a real community out there of people sharing their stories, sharing their great projects. All of our customers have great projects that they're working on, whether they're, Amy Vitale working to save rhinoceroses, things like that, or they're, it's great sports photographers at the Olympics shooting these incredible shots.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, as being a photographer myself, I'm kind of intimidated by how great all these photos are. And I think I'll never take a photo that great. But it just keeps my thirst coming for more photos.
Yeah.
And I've always been a person to open a book and look at pictures before I really start reading anything.
Yeah.
I like the pictures. They tell the stories without the words. I designed the logo, the first logo, back in, I think I did it in 2004. And that's where I met Doug through a mutual friend of mine. And he said, he needs some help with graphic design. And I was looking to make a few extra bucks on the side. And So I took on the project and designed this logo. And I just kind of kept my eye on Think Tank, you know, knowing that they were in the photography space, and that's something that was a passion of mine. And, you know, I kind of had a full-time job at the time, but as years went by, you know, it was becoming clear that, you know, the place I was working at was going to close down and I needed a job. And then I ran into my mutual friend again. He said, oh, you know, there's a marketing director job open at Think Tank. And I said, well, isn't that coincidence?
That's cool.
You know, so I applied for the job and, you know, here I am.
That's way cool.
It was destiny, and we are so lucky to have you.
When this position came up, it was like everything in one. So I was perfectly positioned for it from a skill standpoint. And I've learned so much since I've been here. I mean, social media really wasn't that big of a deal. And now it's become, you know, our mainstay of communicating with our customers, and all the other things that come with it. You know, drones and vlogs, and you know, all these vlogs like we're doing now. And the camera gear has gotten so much better to now we're on this little Osmo shooting what used to be on a big giant camera that no one could afford. You know, and so now there's so many people in the media space, you know, making a living as influencers. I mean, we didn't know what influencers were even a couple of years ago.
You want to do what for a living? Be on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange.
So it's been amazing just to watch how marketing has changed over time, and how, you know, much we've been a part of it because we are, you know, we're in the photography space. We're at the center of it, really. Well, we really want to grow into this travel space. You know, it's a much, much bigger market. Photography is a small market. Some will say it's declining because of the technology. Now you got your phone with a great camera. But we're always going to have, you know, event photographers and real photojournalists that need big glass. They need a real camera. So we're always going to have that core group of customers. And, you know, we've been very fortunate to get in with the pros. And they're the ones who make the money so that they can buy more tools. And so we're fortunate there, but the travel space is huge. And if we can just get one sliver of that market, you know, then we just diversify, you know, the company so we can, you know, stay in business more easily and be smart about that. So, and we're perfectly positioned for it because our products already are a travel product. And we approach travel the same way we approach photography. It's all about workflow, you know, and your needs and security, durability, you know, high quality materials and components that last forever.
Yeah, what I thought was fascinating with your travel products was it might look simple, like, yeah, we're just removing the insides, but there was thought behind that with this multi-stage handle and the space underneath to put in different packing cubes or other things to really maximize your space. So it wasn't just an easy cut and paste. It was like you did from the beginning. You had a think tank where you're looking at how do we really get the Million Mile Club into the other product lines that you're segueing to and opening up, which is amazing. I love that.
That's right.
What about you, Deanne? What's next?
What's next for me? Well, you know, yeah, as Ted said, those are our goals to, you know, keep growing Think Tank, especially in this travel space. You know, with the same core values that we've had as a company, being solution oriented and about quality, customer service, the things that customers have loved about Think Tank. We just move that into the travel space. And you know, personally, I'm going to continue with my photography. I've been working on some long-term projects. Last year, I spent a lot of time in Dublin, Ireland, working on a book project. It's Dublin from an outsider's perspective that I've been doing with a museum over there, and that is a book that will come out early next year. The Pulitzer Prize is the highest honor you can receive as a photojournalist, and you know, it's a honor beyond mention. I mean, you just can't even. Okay, this took me by surprise, I must say.
Really?
Oh
okay.
yeah.
So you did not submit for it, but or.
Well, the Chronicle did. The Chronicle nominated my work to the Pulitzer Committee. So, but I figured that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're like, well, whatever.
Right.
Nice try,
yeah. But it was an important story to me. It was a story that I started at the end of 2003.
So it's just based on one story? It's
based
not
on
like
one
your
story.
work as a career?
It's based on one specific story.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, the Pulitzer, there are 2 photography Pulitzers awarded every year. There's a news Pulitzer, and there's a feature photography award. My story won in the feature category. And also, a Pulitzer can be for an individual image, or it can be for a body of work. And mine was for a body of work. There was a series of 20 images that told a story.
Okay.
The story is about a little Iraqi boy. The war on Iraq had just begun the end of 2003. Salah was 9 years old, walking home from school, and he picked up what he thought was a ball, and it turned out to be a bomb.
What?
His older brother, Dia, was with him and saw that Salah had picked up a bomb and tried to wrestle it out of his hands. During the process, it blew up, and it killed the older brother and severely injured Salah. He lost an eye, he lost a hand, most of the fingers on his other hand, and his abdomen was blown open. His father came rushing to the scene, sees that one child has died, the other is clinging to life. He scoops him up, brings him to an Iraqi hospital, and they said, "We can't save him. Your only hope is to bring him to the Americans." So he brought him to an American Air Force base there in Iraq, and the doctor was able to stabilize him. But the doctor said, "This kid should not be alive. His heart has stopped 7 times, and he refuses to die." And he nicknamed him Lionheart. So after about a week, he had stabilized him, but he said, "We don't have what is needed to save him. We need to get him to America." So an incredible international mercy mission ensued. And it went all the way up to the White House. Donald Rumsfeld had to approve the idea of an Iraqi boy coming to America for medical treatment. So Salah, along with his dad, was brought in a military aircraft alongside injured American soldiers to America, to the Children's Hospital in Oakland. And that's where I started documenting his story. And I spent the next year documenting all the ups and downs of his journey, of his recovery, of, what we thought was going to be him returning to Iraq after 6 weeks in the hospital.
Yeah.
But insurgents had ransacked the family home, and they weren't able to return. They believed that the dad must be an American spy, and that's why his child was getting treatment in America.
Oh my gosh.
So the family, or the dad and Salah, had to settle in America, and they thought they would never see the rest of the family again, the mom and the other kids. But they were able to apply for political asylum, and I ended up taking the journey to Iraq to be reunited with, or to meet the mom who was on her way to be reunited with Salah and the dad. And she traveled along with the 3 other little kids. So I just documented the journey of the family, of the recovery, of the ups and downs that happened throughout the year. And it was that project. The Chronicle published the story 3 times throughout the year. Like I worked with a great writer, Meredith May, and she wrote a beautiful, in-depth, heartfelt story. And, and I did the photography, trying to tell the story in images, so that the images, you could look at the images themselves, and that would tell the story as well. That was my challenge. That's what I was trying to do. When I'm talking about a storytelling image, I want it to be an image that you look at it and you feel something. You understand what this kid is going through, that it just takes it to a deeper level. And that's what I'm going for. And it takes patience, it takes time, it takes perseverance, it takes making this human connection. It it's part of becoming invisible. How do I become invisible in the room so that authentic moments unfold? So there's a lot of different things that are happening. I'm looking for moments, I'm looking for interesting juxtapositions that say something, that reveal something about Salah's experience.